Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest on multiple things in this morning's video. The first thing we'll discuss is the tropics. We'll talk about what the leftovers of Oscar could do to Atlantic Canada. We'll speak on that. And then we'll talk about the chatter you're hearing out there about another storm in the Caribbean. And I will note there's nothing out there right now. Could something form? Absolutely. So we will break down all the model guidance from overnight into this morning and just speak on what we're seeing out there. I'll kind of give you my own personal opinion on it and all that good stuff. After we get done doing that, we will discuss the pattern to come for the rest of the month into early November. A lot of people are wondering, Mitch, when are we going to get some rain? Has not rained in weeks, and I believe you because it has not rained in weeks at my house either here in South Carolina. We have not got a drop of rain in my backyard since Hurricane Helene, which is pretty wild. It's been 20-something days. I quit counting. It's pretty crazy, so a lot of people definitely need rain. So we'll speak on a storm system I am watching. Am I expecting this to be a major storm system? I really don't think so. I think confidence is beginning to drop on anything significant or major, but I am going to speak on it. After we get done doing that, we will speak on what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your day. It's an extremely quiet day today, though. One of the more quieter days of the year, I would say. So we'll break it all down for you folks. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get going this morning. So we'll talk about the tropics first. This is what's left over of Oscar. I mean, it looks pretty large, like a pretty large area of energy out here in the Atlantic, and I would say it is, but it's definitely not a tropical system anymore. It completely lost its tropical characteristics, and in fact, the National Hurricane Center doesn't even have an icon up for this anymore. So this is what's left over of Oscar. Looks like it's bringing some unsettled weather to Bermuda right now. If you're tuning in from that area, let me know what you're seeing. But all this energy will continue to be just, an all-out low pressure, and we'll head in this general direction. Could it move a little bit further west? It could, so I would watch out in Nova Scotia. But Newfoundland is definitely an area I would watch with this storm system. But everywhere else, I mean, there's nothing out here. There's nothing in the Caribbean. There's nothing in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean basically completely void of any kind of shower or storm activity for the most part. So it's pretty quiet. So we continue to move forward past this, and we do take a look at the National Weather Service here, National Hurricane Center, and check it out. Tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. So, there's no area of interest dubbed out here. That could change sometime today. I'm not expecting it to, but it most certainly could. But nothing expected over the next 7 days per the National Hurricane Center. But I will speak a little bit on what the remnants of Oscar could do to Atlantic Canada. So we keep this moving. We'll get into Thursday morning. Here it is, big slug of moisture Thursday evening, starting to affect maybe even like Prince Edward Island, areas of extreme eastern Nova Scotia. Southern sections of Newfoundland begin to get some rain from this. The winds could pick up. This is the GFS. And then as we're getting into Friday morning, the low pressure gets closer. Those winds could pick up a little bit. And just a soaking rain, especially out in the southeastern portions of Newfoundland, far eastern sections of the area, could get a lot more rain than maybe other areas. You see that little area of pink right here? Maybe a little cold air on the backside western end of this precipitation shield, if you will. Maybe could get a wintry mix. You definitely got to stay tuned for the local people for that. But I do want to mention this. The low pressure gets very close. It kind of spins around, gets sort of trapped. And by Friday evening, it's still raining like crazy in southeastern portions of the area. Check out the snow really close by. You can tell we're getting closer to the cold season, that's for sure. And then by the time we get into Saturday, this thing's heading on out, and it's weakening also with some cold air that's likely going to usher in. Here's just a look at what the Euro shows. Euro does show more of a, I would say that the low pressure gets closer, but same thing, precipitation moves in Thursday. Takes over most of the day Friday morning, and then just Friday in general, and just dumps a lot of rain. No real winter precipitation off the Euro, but just dumps a whole lot of rain across Newfoundland throughout the day Friday, and then Saturday this thing begins to head on out. So as far as how much rain, how strong the winds, I will kind of have a little bit more of a detailed segment on that as we get deeper into the week. probably tomorrow, honestly. And we'll break it down a little bit more detail for you folks. I don't expect this to be a high-end event, though, but I definitely want to show you guys some love up there. Now, as far as anything else out there, the GFS is still running, only goes about a week out. I'm doing this video a tick earlier than I normally do. But we're starting it off this morning. There goes the leftovers of what we just talked about. What about down here in the Caribbean? We get into Saturday, we get into Sunday, not a whole lot of anything down here. It looks like moisture is beginning to build again. We get into Monday, we get into next Tuesday. I mean, we're getting pretty far out. We're 6 days out now, and then we get about a week from today, we start to get pressure that begins to lower down here in the Caribbean. We do have an L that pops up here. And this is as far out as it goes, and it does have what looks like maybe a tropical storm forming around Jamaica. Now, you know, I'm doing this video, like I said, a little bit earlier, so it only goes out 186 hours. Does it continue to develop this into an all-out hurricane or something? We're not sure. But if we do go back and look at the OOZ, has the low a little bit further south, does develop it. It just looks very odd. It looks like a huge, broad area of low pressure over sections, a large section of the Caribbean. I mean, areas of the Southwest Atlantic. Looks like you've got this just pinwheeling motion, huge cyclonic spin, and it looks like it's pushing moisture into Florida. Develops an all-out tropical storm here, you know, close to Hispaniola, and it just does some weird steering out here. And you know, I've mentioned this multiple times. When you get to this time of the year, the steering currents get very odd. You get very weird, I guess you would say, but just a little bit different. And that's pretty normal. The weirdness, if you will, the steering currents is actually pretty normal this time of the year because of just cold fronts that dig down the U.S. and influence the steering patterns in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But I mean, you take this past 10 days and you got a low pressure in the Gulf, you got a low pressure way over here, so it just gets weird. So confidence is not very high on one way or the other, right? The euro has pretty much stayed the course, and it's always going to be conservative. That's why you always kind of have to watch out for it. But you know, you get into Saturday and you get into Sunday, precipitation, moisture beginning to build in the Caribbean. Nothing notable though. You know, we get into Monday, nothing. We get into Tuesday, nothing. Shows a low, though, down here Tuesday morning. And just a lot of activity down here in the Caribbean. Even in the Southwest Atlantic, like north of the Greater Antilles, there's a lot of moisture hanging out around, but nothing consolidating, nothing coming together into an all-out tropical cyclone. So Euro's still not buying it. And, you know, I don't have the icon and the Canadian pulled up, but it's kind of the same thing with those. Nothing really coming together inside 10 days. But you do look at the GEFS ensemble from the OOZ run, and, you know, we take it all the way out into Tuesday evening next week. You're starting to get a little signal. You see the brightness of the colors. This means that we're starting to get lower pressure. And, you know, we start to get to about 7.5 days from now, 7-8 days. And, you know, we're starting to get some members showing up. Some are quite strong. And it still is a solid signal, but it looks like the signal's been backed up a little bit. So this is 10 days from now. There's no point in going any further than this, folks. I mean, it's such an unreliable time frame, but you do have some stronger low pressures. It's a very broad signal, very large. I mean, it's stretching from the Western Caribbean all the way to the Southwest Atlantic, portions of the Gulf of Mexico, all the way back here to even like the Lesser Antilles. So still a signal on here, but it's just everywhere. The EPS, which makes up 51 members, you know, this goes out about a week, and there's a signal for some members way down here deep in the Southern Caribbean, but very weak members. And, you know, we start to get in the 7 to 10 day range. It definitely gets louder, but very spread out. Nothing very strong, and nothing that makes you scream confidence, I would say. So that's pretty much an update on the tropics, and we keep this going. And you know, we get into early November, and I will say, if anything's going to develop down here in the Caribbean or anywhere, it's going to be in November. I don't think it's going to happen between now and the end of the month. I really don't, but I could be wrong. But if you want my personal opinion on the tropics, I just say that I think we're going to get something in the Caribbean over the next couple weeks. It's just, you know, don't freak out over all these model runs. You know, you're going to get some wacky model runs. We had one yesterday with the GFS that pulled a Sandy. Hurricane Sandy just did some weird stuff. So don't get hung up over all these model runs. Don't get fooled by some of the posts you see on social media. So just be careful what you believe. So as far as the pattern coming up, folks, we've talked about this numerous times over the last few days. Between now and the short term this weekend, we're going to have a cold front that tries to dig down to the northeast. This will bring a period of cooler temperatures across the northeast, even the eastern U.S., kind of a cold front, if you will dig down, drop the temperatures. But then a ridge takes back over for the central and eastern U.S. The warmer colors right here that you see, that is ridging. The cooler colors in the blue, that's a trough. This brings unsettled weather, cooler weather. Ridge kind of flexes over Canada, over the eastern U.S. Warmer than average temperatures settle back in for the last few days of October, and a big, I would say, unsettled pattern begins to move into the western U.S. Now, we're going to get some sort of big storm system out of this. It's possible, but this looks more positively tilted to me. And, if you're thinking, Mitch, I don't know what you mean by positively tilted. Well, when these things tilt like this, it's a weaker storm system. When they tilt like this, it's a stronger storm system, so what we call a negative tilt. Now, sometimes they can be neutrally tilted, which means they dig straight down, and they can be in the process of going negative, which means we have a strengthening storm system. This looks more positively tilted off the European ensemble. But the pattern, as we're getting into the last few days of October, it looks like you're going to have warmer than average temperatures, another warm Halloween for you trick-or-treaters. And then it looks like we're going to have storminess moving into the western U.S. Now, for the actual day of Halloween, it could be much different, but still looks like ridging over the eastern U.S., and you got another trough kind of amplifying across the western U.S. And this looks more like your kind of La Nina pattern, where you got storminess out in the west and just warmer than average temperatures in the east. So I don't see any major cool down for the foreseeable future for the eastern U.S., but I do see more of an unsettled pattern moving into the western U.S. And, if you're looking at this as far as precipitation, we'll start this Saturday. Here comes our first kind of bigger storm system, I would say. And as we move into this weekend, we got rain, not a lot of cold air working with this yet. It's still October technically, but you see the blues and the Cascades, and we could always use the rain out west. But the energy moves in. It's more amplified and juiced up in the Pacific Northwest, loses some steam over the Rockies, but we're certainly going to get some early season snow across the Rockies. You see the blue. This is getting in the next Tuesday morning. You see the blue showing up across just the Rocky states in the western U.S. And this will try to do something across the central U.S., which we'll show here in a second. And then about a week from today, another storm system will move in. Maybe has a little bit more cold air to work with. Snow level's a little bit lower, but this is in the 7 to 10 day range. Could be tweaked a little bit. But this could bring maybe a more substantial cold shot. We'll have to see. We haven't had one of those blue northerns yet where we've had these crazy early season cold fronts that brings like Denver snow and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything like that this year. We typically see that in November anyways, but you can see it in October. Heck, we can see it in September. But no crazy early season winter storms out here, okay? But it looks like multiple storm systems do move in. And as far as snow between now and the next week, certainly the higher elevations, the Cascades, the snow pack begins to build. Snow across the Rockies. Even a signal for snow outside of the Rockies, like in the plains of Nebraska, Colorado. So that's something to watch. And then we do go out to about 10 days out, which will stop it here. It does look like the snowpack begins to build across the higher elevations. So nothing crazy, nothing too substantial, but something to watch. What about the middle of the country? A lot of these areas need rain. By the way, we don't have a new drought monitor up, so I would show it to you, but they haven't updated it yet. But, dry through Sunday, we get into Monday, nothing. We get into next Tuesday. A weak low tries to cross, between the ridge and the trough. Could get something going here across the northern states. And then maybe something more significant, maybe even a severe weather risk. We're getting into Wednesday of next week, October the 30th. Show some rain, much needed rain all the way down to Oklahoma to Texas. How big is this storm system as it moves into the Mississippi Valley, the Great Lakes region? little shot of cold air behind this. And then maybe moisture begins to finally be on the return as we're getting into the first few days of November for like Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana. I've heard a lot of people say it's getting very dry in Louisiana. I'm hearing just about from all states. So how much rain off the European ensemble? This isn't an exact forecast, but between now and the next 10 days, we have an opportunity for a lot of rain, especially as we get, the last couple days of October, the first few days of November. There's a little, a sign of maybe some wetter times to come. Relief on the way. We do have a chance of widespread rain across the middle of the country in the Mississippi Valley. So we'll continue to watch this and how this evolves. What about the eastern U.S.? Does this energy make it? Well, between now and this weekend, nothing, maybe a little energy at the bottom of a cold front. I really hope this green showing up here in the Carolinas as we're getting into, Saturday and the Sunday actually falls in the form of rain, obviously. But I'm not betting on it. So we have to watch a little bit of moisture down here. Does something try to get going off the coast of the southeast? Not quite sure, but models have been teasing at something that could bring maybe a little rain early next week, maybe this weekend for the southeast. I'm not betting on a lot, but then we kind of put our eyes to the west. We have a big storm system that tries to bring some rain across the eastern U.S. Maybe. I mean, it's tough, guys. It's tough sledding, and I'll be honest. Between now and Saturday morning, no rain expected for the deep south and the southeast, even the mid-Atlantic, the I-95 corridor. We take it into, let's say, let's just go 10 days out, folks. I mean, shows a little bit of rain for the southeast. I don't know how much of this is actually going to fall, though, but it does show a lot of rain starting to show up. And this is the Euro, so let's look at the Euro ensemble. That's what I meant to look at here. And yeah, I mean, there is a little signal for some rain across the southeast, but folks, it's 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of rain. It's not showing a lot. And it's just because we have this ridge dominating our pattern. All the energy is just going around us. And it's a snooze fest as far as any kind of active weather. And I'm not personally pulling for active weather. That's not really what I would take a rain shower at this point here in South Carolina. So but this is from the actual, National Weather Service, a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the 28th through the 1st of November. Above average temperatures dominating the central and eastern U.S. Below average temperatures moving into the western U.S. As far as precipitation, we look at this. The good news is the chances of above average precipitation are beginning to enter the picture for a large section of the country. Still looks like near normal to, it still looks very dry for the Northeast. So, still waiting. Okay. As far as what's happening today, we'll zip through this pretty quick because it's pretty quiet. There is a storm system up here in Quebec and Ontario, but most of this is pretty far north. This is bringing some rain, even some lake effect rain showers across the UP. A little bit of energy, around Omaha. Let me know if you're getting rain in Nebraska or Iowa, but it shows a little bit of light rain. Everybody else, bone dry, quiet, nothing's going on. Watches, warnings, and advisories. You do have red flag warnings for Connecticut. I heard about a wildfire in Connecticut over the last couple days, and I think Roswell, New Mexico got just some really freak flash flooding event that I forgot to mention over the last couple videos, but I hope that community is faring well, praying for you folks. But folks, really everybody else is quiet. The chance of flash flooding below 5%, so doesn't even show up on the map. And folks, no thunderstorms are forecast today. You don't see this often. There's not even a general risk anywhere. So, in the southeast, this morning, nothing's going on. As we get into this afternoon, this evening, another day in Florida where you could get an isolated shower or downpour, but even down there, it's not very widespread. Anywhere else, nothing, folks. Nothing in the southeast today. No high pressure continues to dominate our weather. The temperatures are beginning to warm, and it's drying out. Each and every day we don't get rain, it gets drier and drier. The northeast, some energy can move out of Canada. We could get some rain in maybe western PA, western New York. Definitely the deeper you get into New York State, the higher chance you have of maybe getting a rain shower a day. Vermont, New Hampshire, very possible. Just anywhere in the interior New England area could get a rain shower, but don't bet on it. The South Central U.S., it's quiet this afternoon, this evening. Mary, I hope you're doing okay. We get into Thursday morning, it is quiet. I mean, it's just quiet. Quiet weather, folks. And that's why I haven't been sectioning off the timestamps when I break down the daily forecast, because I only spend about 15 to 20 seconds on each geographical region right now because it's so quiet. But this morning we're getting those lake effect rain showers across the UP of Michigan. It's cold enough on the northern side of the Great Lakes for a little bit of snow in Canada. But on the U.S. side, still too warm for all that. So some lake effect sprinkles possible across the Great Lakes region. We get all the way into Thursday morning, and yeah, there's nothing going on. Western U.S., the first little push of energy will move into Oregon. Some higher elevation snow in those higher elevations of Idaho and Oregon. This energy will move into the northern Rockies, of Montana, Wyoming. This is a very weak storm system, not a lot of cold air to work with, but this could deliver a few inches of snow in the higher elevations over the next 24 hours, and then that energy will move into the northern plains. But that's it. Temperatures, weak cold front digging down. This will cool you back down for the Great Lakes region. More of a fall-like day. Temperatures trapped in the 40s, definitely cool. Midwest, cooler, 60s, nice fall day. There will be a boundary in the Ohio Valley to the central Mississippi Valley that will separate cooler temperatures with more of like Indian summer type temperatures. Hey, Rocket. And then the Northeast, 60s and 70s, and the Southeast, 70s and 80s. South Central, 80s and 90s. Cooler, once you kind of get into Kansas, there's a stout difference in temperatures. And here's the Western U.S. So, folks, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.